Hello YouTube and welcome to my second attempt at doing a Hammer of the Ancients build for my Barbarian. I've been leveling a few characters now and doing leveling builds for quite some time. The idea of doing these is that I would give somebody a nice build to go with that can build into later acts that's useful. I know I'm not going to be endgame. I'm a dad gamer. I don't have time. But what I do have time for is to do builds for people just starting or people looking for a build that's a little bit better than their own. This is my Barbarian character. Right now he's doing Santa Claus RP, as you can tell. We're going to jump into this, do a dungeon, but we're going to talk a little bit about the build, give you some examples of using the abilities, how I've used gearing to make it even better, and then how you can modify the build to your own liking as time goes on, and some things that I've noticed along the build that can be changed. So to begin, let's talk about some of the abilities. So we're gonna start with our talent tree. Right now I am level 25, but I think that still earns me a few more points just because of renown and how that works. So you can either be further ahead or further behind depending on how much side quests you do or statues of Lilith you get. So the first ability that you're going to grab is Lunging Strike. Just like any build I've seen so far, you're really going to only put 1 point in it just because it's your main resource generator. It's really not going to be gathering your main source of damage. You may see some items that give you basic damage buffs. Some are better than others, but really the main thing about this is not even really the heal, even though it does heal. The fact that what it does is that it lunges forward, and on top of that, afterwards it's going to have bleed damage. Bleed damage is going to come more into play later on, but the main aspect about bleed is if you can get your expertise built in two-handed swords, it actually provides a little extra bleed, and then we combine that with, and it's a little bit further down the tree, hamstring later on, which provides a little bit of a slow. So we really want to compound those bleeds later on. So it's not going to come into super use early on. So if you want to skip it early for the sake of getting further down the tree, or maybe if you want to do it with something else, you can. But since you're just really getting to that second level right here, not really a purpose to doing it quite yet. Next thing I'm going to be going into is Hammer of the Ancients. This is the core of the build. Really what this is, it's a big hammer smash. It's kind of tight in what it can do. It doesn't do a lot of cleave, a lot of AoE with the smash. However, there is an aspect that we're going to use with it. I have it on my gloves because my gloves actually has a rank of Hammer of the Ancients on it. I don't know if there's they're more predisposed to have that, but it does. So I went ahead and applied it to my gloves on this one. And then it provides basically an earthquake, which deals 32% damage of his damage to its enemies and projects outward. So it gives it a little bit more range, and we're going to see that in a little bit coming up. And then also with this build, with Hammer of the Ancients as well, we're going to grab the enhanced Hammer of the Ancients. This gives more fury generation. It's basically 3% more fury. It's easy to get 10 stacks because basically you're gonna alternate between your lunging strikes and Hammer of the Ancients quite frequently. And then of course Furious Hammer of the Ancients, which gives us additional points of fury equals more damage. So basically, I'm terrible at math, but 1% additional 1% damage if you're at 100% fury, so 100% more damage is I think that's how it works. But basically more fury equals more damage, so it's pretty easy pick versus having 30% more damage for 5 seconds. Temporary buffs are great, but that's what our shouts are for, so that's why I went with that versus the other. Next down the tree, as we go a little bit further down, I have more points into this mainly because I have armor that contributes more points into it. I also contribute an additional point because I'm a little further down the tree. I basically skipped out on grabbing something else. I'll talk about that in a little bit, but Rallying Cry, you're really going to grab one one rank of this, as well as really just one rank of Hammer of the Ancients for just a little bit until you can get further down the tree. But Rallying Cry, the main reason we're grabbing it is because 30% movement speed and 48% resource generation. It's a pretty big help in generating Fury early on. This is going to be basically one part of your two-part opener. The next thing is Enhanced Rallying Cry. This gives you Unstoppable, which isn't so much as important as it is to get this generation of Fury and additional resource generation on top of that with Tactical Rallying Cry. And you'll notice that with a lot of these builds as well. The first one is kind of like meh, and then the second one is what really makes it good. The second one that you could grab is Strategic Rallying Cry. It gives you base life as Fortify. A lot of these base life as Fortifies are going to be really good for you, especially if you're struggling with max life. Like if you have a decent damage output, but you find yourself basically almost dying, Fortify is the source for survival for Barbarians, because Rallying Cry gives you that resource generation, which is really important, but having those additional forms of Fortify on top of what Warcry provides you, would provide you base life as Fortify. You could even use Imposing Presence for extra maximum life. Basically, Fortify builds extra based off of whatever your max life is. So the more damage you have, the more you're able to use Fortify to your own benefit. Additionally, with this build, you have something like Leap, which is like another part to your opener, really the second part to it, being able to leap into battle and also being able to generate Fury immediately. Get max life so you can start using Hammer of the Ancients is really important. And then Warcry is kind of like the once you hit that max life, now you're going to hit Hammer of the Ancients, so you want to really make sure your Hammer of the Ancients is as strong as possible. So that's going to mean
not ready yet. I don't have enough Fury.
That's where that guy was just there at the most inconvenient time. So, let me actually, just so I can speak over this a little bit. All right. So, really with having Warcry, it's going to provide a nice bit of damage dealt on top of your Hammer of the Ancients. And then the additional modifier of Berserking gives you additional damage and movement speed. You're going to see Berserking in a few places just because the way I have my character geared. I believe one of my weapons does it. Yep, so my offhand on my one-handed weapons has gained Berserking for 1 second after swapping 10 times, which kind of just happens naturally when I'm using my abilities, because if you're switching from lunging strikes to your Hammer of the Ancients, you're swapping weapons there. And then Leap also auto-selects it, so if you're going from, like, say this to a Leap, that also swaps. So you're going to get that naturally. I don't really specialize into it. I don't put it into my skill tree to do Berserking specifically, but it kind of comes automatically with it. The other part of it's Power Warcry. I didn't think that's really great to, if at least 6 enemies are nearby. That's great for AoE, but that's not really my concern, considering Hammer of the Ancients is my main ability that I'm going to be using to do that. Additionally, another big change that I've noticed in some of the other builds I've seen is Booming Voice. A few just grabbed 1 into this. I grabbed more because I want more time for my Warcry and for my Rallying Cry, so an extra 24% means like a few extra seconds, yes, but as your ranks go, you actually get more time with Warcry and Rallying Cry, so having more and more time on top of that without having to grab extra ranks for it is fantastic. Additionally, you could grab Raid Leader if you feel like you need more heals in your skill tree. I felt like I was not necessarily needing healing in this. This one heals allies, so also heal allies for 1% of their maximum life per second. So if you have a lot of max life already, like say if you specialize in deposing presence, that could be great. Late game, I could see that being more important, but for now, I'm gonna stick with actually just using booming voice for the extra time with the cry. I've also seen I've seen outburst, and I've been tempted that once I get high max life to go with outburst as well for extra thorns, because passive damage I think is the best thing for a leveling build, but I didn't think it was really strong enough to really use right now. So it's only based off of bonus maximum life, so basically whatever bonus maximum life you get from your abilities. So I didn't really feel like it was going to be really essential to the builds myself, but I'm open to ideas with that. Now, there's a few things that is in our build that I have added to this. I've kind of just added as I went as far as gems go, so there's nothing's perfect quite. I am still leveling this character. But max life is what I put into all of my armor pieces. It's just the easiest thing to make myself a little bit more defensive, just because I don't get a lot of defensives from my build. Additionally, like I said before, the ancestral force aspect is going to be really the essential one for our builds. As far as where you get it, if you're looking in, it's kind of near Act 2, so if you're doing Act 2, you can just run over there and grab it, but Sunken Ruins right here, sort of a level, like mid-tier, I'd say like level 15 area, I think. Like, I don't think you can go there immediately, but it's pretty easy to access. It actually doesn't have a boss to it at all, so you can just go in. You don't have to worry about a boss even. And then another part about my build that I have here is a charger leap, just contributing more damage. Like I said, I use two-handed weapons, and then I use blue for critical strike damage. Really, I just want to get Hammer the Ancient crits, so I put it into all of my weapons here, which with Barbarian, since you have so many, it really can help. And then I have a rank of Warcry that's contributed there on my armor. So actually, I think I only have 2 points into Warcry, but I get one automatically from my builds, and then also, oh, I'm sorry, Rallying Cry, and then Warcry as well gets one from there. So the last thing I'll say about this build is, well, actually one of my favorite things, and that's going to be Leap. Leap is a lot of fun to mix with our Rallying Cry. It's a great opener. Not for the first part if it misses, but for the second part, if it hits one enemy, you get 40 Fury. It's a great resource generator. We're kind of going to open with Rallying Cry, Leap, get Max Fury, use Warcry, and then immediately start spamming Hammer of the Ancients. But if you get max life, say with Rallying Cry and just attacking, or you get max life with just Leap, you can still use those abilities. So it's kind of like options just in case one's on cooldown, because Warcry and Rallying Cry having 20-second cooldowns is a little bit brutal. Last thing of this is the ultimate, and that is Call of the Ancients. Call of the Ancients basically clear out mobs because you summon 3 aids who come in and start dealing whirlwinds, start dealing big smashing attacks, and then on top of that, with Supreme Call of the Ancients, you get more Fury, you get more attack speed, you get enemies slowed, you get enemies stunned. So what's not to like about it? It's pretty great. It's a 50-second cooldown, so really it's going to be used for those big situations. I wouldn't try to spam it in every single fight that you do, but especially if you're in those big groups and you want to clear them out quick. I've used this to basically not have to do damage, so that's my favorite part about it. So that's basically the build of it. That's how you will build it. You're kind of going to build your Hammer of the Ancients ranks later on towards the closer you are to getting Call of the Ancients, so you're not going to build it immediately, but you will in time. So we're going to start with this dungeon. I actually don't know if this has like a boss or anything like that, but I figure I'd give you some examples of some of the attacks that we're going to do. I actually did this build on stream, so I have like an even longer version, but I was having a lot of issues with my videos, so that is why you're not gonna see. It's not really like, this is not much from my live stream, but if you haven't checked out my live stream, I do have a live stream where I
Need more fury.
do go over new builds. Right now, I'm actually playing Druid of all things. I wanted to play Druid for the sake of everyone said it wasn't the best, so I wanted to try it to see for myself. I started out with a Tornado Druid and then kind of moved on to a Shred Druid, but I might just rebuild my Tornado Druid. That way I can have like continuity of sticking with Tornado. We'll see. I like Shred a little bit more. It's a little bit more single target focused and it has a lot more defensives. But something about like Barbarians, like I don't want to grab many defenses. It feels like you just want to contribute only into doing offensive abilities. And basically, if you die, you die. Or no, if you die, you're not doing what you're supposed to, or you're not doing enough damage, as opposed to it being something else. I'm gonna go north. Try to go the opposite way of where I'm supposed to go. You can take a lot of damage with this build if you're not paying super focus, but know that really Fortify is like the saving grace with this, because once you start throwing in Fortifies, you could stay at 25% health for a pretty long time. So it's not too much of a worry. I haven't had any issues. I haven't been dying early on. Also, something about Barbarian, as you probably know, they recommend not doing tier 2. I would say with this build, it felt strong enough to do tier 2, but only because I'd say only because it's pretty decent by I'd say like 18, 17, 18. So if you're getting around 15 and you're feeling pretty strong, I say you could go for it. I say go for it if you want. But of course, really that's only if you want. You know what, I totally forgot. Let's do Armor Thorns. My XP gain while we're here. I always forget to do my consumables.
Shale, you've done the work of angels. The Great Hall looks magnificent. But
Whenever I'm just doing like, if there's just a few mobs, I'll go,
all the banners taken down,
I'll really go just kind of
how Domin is. Once
alternating. So I'll like lunging strike, lunging strike, lunging strike. Maybe then rallying cry, smash, and then lunging strike, so it's max again. Then go back to it. I don't like spamming Hammer of the Ancients, just one after another, just because you don't get as many, you don't get as much damage that way. So, see, I was kind of around like 50% health that entire time, but not really super duper worried. Actually, have I died on this character? I think I've died on this. I'm pretty sure I've died on this character. Maybe like once. So maybe it's not the most perfect build. It's got something left to be desired. A lot about this build that I struggled with early on, and still kind of struggle with at times, is positioning. It can be tempting just to use all your abilities all the time, and like, oh, you're at max fury, you ought to spam Hammer of the Ancients now. But because Hammer of the Ancients kind of works antithetical to movements, it's just best to just not, and just kind of move forward. The best part about lunging strike is that you can kind of keep on pressing forward if you want to. I'll see if I can do it in an encounter right here. Let's see, where can we go to the right? So let's move forward, move forward, move forward, move forward, move forward. You can kind of keep on pressing until they start like really coming at you. And then do it that way, but you also waste a lot of time with it. I can't. Oh, I hit enter. That's why I couldn't heal. I was wondering what was happening, like why my abilities weren't working. That was scary for a second. I hit a button. The amount of times I've accidentally opened up my chat box and then stopped casting. I feel like if I did hardcore, that's how I would die. Okay. See, not really enough here to like back in doing anything too crazy, but I will do the war cry at least. That way I'm doing more damage. I'd say like the crits usually around like 700 to 1,000, depending on how things are going. Let's do a little jump here and then see how long. Let's try this. I'm gonna go max health, and then I'm gonna see how long I can go without using a potion before I die. Let's see, anything else over here? Looks like I can go a little bit up, so further. Okay, max out my Fury, Hammer of the Ancients immediately after. It's like you have two abilities that can max out your Fury, and they also do additional stuff, so it's not too hard to get max Fury frequently. I'm always hesitant to using them at the same time, just because if you spend them too quickly, then it's just like, oh well, I have nothing now. Always using my Rallying Cry to go into fights. If I can. No fight there, but they count because I'm using barrels. Okay. All of the Ancients. Alright, I did take a lot of damage there from other stuff, so we're testing it though, we're testing it. Let's see how much. Right. That comes from my necklace that you get from Vigo at the end of that build, if you're wondering. I did level up, it's kind of cheating. I understand if you don't want to count this. I'll keep going then. Alright, so I did level up, so I guess we can talk about some of the stuff I'm gonna put points into, because really from this point we have a lot of stuff that we can do at the very end, but at this point, let's see. I don't really want to put more points into hamstring as much as we could do that. You could focus into like max life or fortify. I think the main thing that I'm gonna want to do is probably gonna be focus on my shouts and maxing those out. Let's see. I wish it would show me how much I'm getting benefit from it. I think it's gonna be resource generation mostly. I could probably get Warcry if I felt like my damage was too low, or focus on that first. But let's instead do Rallying Cry. I wonder if I think I honestly I might have needed to. Can I go back real quick? Yep. My Hammer of the Ancients build wasn't maxed out there. I forgot that I was getting a point from my armor. I just realized it was 5, so that was an easy choice. But otherwise, I would have picked Rallying Cry. Technically, it was still the right rank. It could have been more. Yeah, it's definitely gonna make our crits a lot higher. Yeah, that was like 900, 1,000, 900. Actually, bananas. I don't know how I missed that, but it happens, it happens. Alright, I got the zoomies, let's go. Kind of bugging out right now.
I'm not ready yet.
Okay. Still haven't healed. So let's try to keep that up if I can. Let's do Call the Ancients. Okay. Cutting it close.
Out of fury.
What's that down there? Is that a thing? Oh, animus. Okay. Alright. Little bubble. And like I said, it comes from my necklace. So it's not really anything other than that, but use my call, avoid fights.
Can't lift
Easiest way to avoid fights. Oh. I gotta start being more selective about what I pick up, really. Oh, let's put this gem in here, sure. Yeah. I usually don't like looking at the stuff I get to the very end, because I get distracted. Oh, there's a little door here. Let's see if I can... Alright, there it is. Tried to extend it a little bit longer. Yeah, I would say like it's not...
lift more.
Like definitely as you're starting to feel the build get weaker, you can definitely focus more on getting higher fortify, higher max life,
I need more.
vice versa, however order you want to do it in this build. But my sort of motto with it is if I'm not dying or I'm using, I guess, 3 or less potions in like a heavy an encounter, then I'm not gonna stress out about it. I'm not gonna try to like change my whole build or make it harder, because I can always refund it and then kind of go back more into max life. I like fortify because basically it works with my shouts, which I'm already using to provide me defensives, sort of indirectly, but it's still just as effective.
My bags are full.
I know as time goes on, it can be less effective, but this is an early leveling build especially, so so it can have a bit of stuff that may not be in the build later on. Like it's not going to be just like this at endgame, I'm sure, just like any build. But my heart of hearts tells me that focusing on fortified is the way to go. Max life and fortify.
I can't lift more.
If you can do those two things, then you'll have a nice little build. Let's do that. Just doing all the armor pieces, the low cost pieces.
I must wait.
I think there's another path. Yeah, there's another path I haven't fully discovered here. Let's go this way. To the back of this. I'll lunge all the way to the back. There we go. Sometimes just getting out of the center of it is the best part about lunging strike, because often as Barbarian you just get caught up in everything that's happening, and so it can be kind of deadly because of that. So it's nice to have lunging strike for that nice like escape maneuver essentially. Should we just heal? Yeah, we'll heal. Go ahead. Right. Shouts. I'm gonna hold off on using Call of the Ancients just in case he decides to summon something. I don't know if he's gonna summon something. I always hold off on using my leap as well because I never know if he's gonna decide to, like, say, knock me back, or I have to run away for a second, and then I like to leap in. So that's why I'm not necessarily using that right now.
I'm not ready yet.
Just attack, reposition, attack, reposition. You could also use your dodge. I always forget about using that.
Let's wait.
Okay. Okay. Still not gonna use my jump. Like I said, I don't know what he's gonna do, but I don't really need to as well. My resource generation isn't too bad right now. Yeah, it doesn't look like he's gonna summon anything though, so we'll just do that. Here, I'll leap for funsies. There we go. It also makes you stronger. That's the really cool part about Call of the Ancients. So if you want to use it as like a early bloodlust, essentially, for your early buff, you can do that too. Don't need to, but you can. All right. And that's really the base of the build. If you have any questions about the build, or if you have any recommendations that you'd like to go with the build, then I would love to help on that, or at least change this and modify the build as time goes on. And then here's one more look at it. Of course, anything with blue has like an additional point from my armor that I have. And then, like I said, the variability with this build is that you can change a lot for either healing, but I recommend max life and fortify. Anything that contributes to your fortify is great. Going further into this build, I'm of course going to finish out my shouts. It's going to be really important to get those maxed out. It's just upgrading them right now. Like, I think Warcry, it's like 3% per rank, so it's not really a whole lot of improvement with that. But starting out, I probably would do Rallying Cry just because it does a little bit more as far as giving you more fury equals more attacks, so that's more important to me. All right. See you guys in the next one. Appreciate it. Subscribe to the YouTube while you're at it.